Hey, welcome to Structure Fishing. I'm Jim Shell. I'm going to give you a report on my trip to Lake Erie, but more specifically, what we learned when we went on this trip. As we all know, Lake Erie is a very well-known, popular destination. Like I say, well-known for its walleye fishing. And I never fished there before for walleyes, um, and then really didn't do much planning on this trip. I did glance at the Navionics maps. I zoomed in over here, and I saw. Let's look at it right over here. You zoom in a little closer. You can just see that you've got a lot of reefs. Reef here, reef here, reef here, reef here. You got just all these reefs, and that's what these structures. Most of the structures are in Lake Erie are just these big reefs, underwater humps. And I just figured, well, we'll just be fishing all these reefs, and I, like I said, I didn't do much research, and I figured that there'd be tons of charter boats out there and fishermen, and we'll see them ganging up on whatever the hot reef is out there. So the plan was to fish for 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is July 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. We got out there. We launched. I think right here it is, Catawba Island State Park area. We came out here, and I was a bit surprised that there weren't a lot of boats at all fishing. Matter of fact, I don't think I saw any charter boats and just a few scattered fishermen around, which it sort of surprised me. I thought maybe that was because it was a Tuesday, but it was a day before a holiday. But anyway, um, we went over this reef. We spent most of our time on this reef here called Moose Island Reef. As you can see, it's right in the crosshairs of the ferry traffic going back and forth to Put in Bay. And there were at least one or two ferries going by that you can see all the time. But that really didn't bother us. But anyway, most of this reef was about 17, 18 feet on top. And we trolled across the top, see if there was any fish. We trolled, along the edge of the reef here. And we caught tons of big sheephead. I think we ended up catching maybe 20 nice sized sheephead and two walleyes. And we didn't stay out there all day because the winds were really strong from the east. And there were big rollers out there. And I was even getting a little tired, I should say. And Casey, who I went fishing with, was said he had a headache. Said he wasn't seasick, but he said he had a headache, and I'm assuming it was from all the bouncing. So we called it an early day around 5:30. Um, and when we went back to shore, we talked to a fisherman, and he made a comment that all the walleyes are up in Canada. And then that evening, we went over to Walmart, stock up on a few supplies, and one of the guys in the fishing section said, "Oh, you guys out walleye fishing?" And I said, "Yeah, we're trying to find them." And he said, "Oh, well," he says, "good luck because all the walleyes are up in Canada now." So that was a second person that told us that the walleyes are all that they migrated up to Canada. And as we know, walleyes are migratory fish, and they will migrate. And we had everybody telling us that it's mostly for the big fish. It's a spring bite where this is where they spawn, and during the summer they migrate north to Canada or out east into the rest of Lake Erie here. So the forecast for the next day, Wednesday, was very calm. It was be calm all day long. So I said, well, walleyes will migrate as we know, but there are walleyes that will remain year round in a certain area. So I figured, well, my plan the next day was to find one of the biggest reefs I could find, thinking due to its size that we got our best chance of holding some fish here. So I pulled up my Lavionics map on my phone, started looking at it, and I figured with a calm weather forecast that we can, pretty much go out and explore a bit. And when I looked in the area here, I saw this big reef right over here, which is northeast of Kelly's Island. And I just looked at it, and I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty good sized reef, and it's, a bit, it's close to Canada, but it's a bit far from the area. So due to its size, I figured there's a good chance that reef should hold fish. We can put our measuring tool on it here with Navionics, which is a pretty cool feature. And this reef is over about over a mile and a half long. So it's a really good sized reef. Take you out to check it out here. So I figured, okay, this is our plan for the next day, Wednesday. So we launched this time from this side of the island. I think right here, yeah, Mazur boat ramp, and it was a 9 mile run to get out over here to this reef, which I think is called Kelly's Island Shoal. And there were two or three boats that were scattered on it while we were fishing, and one of them or two of them looked like they could have been charters. But we're just going back and forth across the reef, and we started out here and we were going, and just like the day before, we were catching nothing but sheephead, and they were good sized sheephead, and occasional catfish too. And we were fishing this thing for about 2 hours, and we were checking the top of the reef. This reef gets as shallow as 12 feet, so we worked 12 feet all the way down to most of the on the break here is around 22 to 25 feet, and we didn't catch anything, any walleyes. And like I say, we were there for good 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours. So I looked at the map again, and I figured, well, we got to concentrate where the contact point should be. Where's my deepest water? So while I was out on the water fishing, I opened it up here and I took a look at it again. And you can see here, you got 30, 35 feet here, 30. You got a pretty good distance before you get to 40 feet out here. And then you get to this part of the reef here, and look, you got 50 feet of water right over here. And you can see how the break lines are pretty tight over here. The contour lines are pretty tight over here, indicates you got a pretty fast drop, steep drop there. And if you zoom out a bit, you can see how it tightens up over there. So I figure, the contact point for this reef has got to be in this area over here. So I looked at Casey and I says, we got to go over here where the deepest water is at, and we're not fishing deeper. I says we fished 12 feet down to 25 feet, can't find them. We have to go deeper. So we shot over here to this side of the reef, and we went down to 30, 35 feet of water, and we found them. It was a very rewarding trip to put in your homework, interpret everything, and then after 2 hours and not catching any fish, going over here, and we found them. It was a pretty fun feeling. We were trolling worm harnesses, crawler harnesses. Casey wanted to try that out, so we had a blast doing that. But we were trolling over here, and we caught the first walleye. I threw a waypoint down, and we went a little further down. Nothing. We turned around, and we came back, and we hit a second fish. And I looked at the screen, and we were right on top of that first waypoint. So I said, well, we got to have a school here. That's two fish in the same spot. So we threw down the anchor, or actually the Minn Kota spot lock, and locked this in that point, that spot over there, and we started casting. And in about 2 hours, we had 10 nice walleyes in the boat. And plus, we lost two or three at the boat as well too. But it just goes to show you, you gotta interpret, look at the situation, and after not catching anything on this reef, and then we figured, okay, this is the best spot to camp out at, and we did it, and the fish were there, and it was a very rewarding, satisfying trip to finally find those fish and start catching them. We went in around 2 in the afternoon because we had 10 fish in a live well, and 3 or 4 of them were dead or just about dead. So we shot in. It was about a 25-minute boat ride back to the ramp over there, and cleaned the fish. Had a late lunch, early dinner, and I says, let's fish in the evening, since we weren't able to fish in the evening the day before. So we got back on the reef around 5:30, and we actually fished an hour past dark, around 10:30. And the fish did change. We were still catching fish there, but they were definitely changed. They were just nipping at the baits. You really had to slow things down, and they were barely hooked. We lost more than we got in the boat. I mean, we halfway on we'd lose them, or we lost several right at the boat. But there was a noticeable difference in the activity of fish. They were just barely ticking the baits. So the forecast for the next day, Thursday, was calling for calm winds again. It was 4 miles an hour, and at this point, the forecast was pretty much dead on. And on all 3 days, there was a 70% chance of scattered storms. We were watching on the weather map, and they were just missing us the first 2 days. So the third day, it said 4 mile an hour winds out of the southwest. So we figured, oh, good, okay, it's gonna be another calm day. We'll shoot out here. Being the last day, we were only able to play until fish until noon, so we can make the drive home. And we got out there and we launched the boat, and it was more like 8 mile an hour winds, which wasn't bad. You know, it was still took us 25 minutes to get out here. And just as we got out there, well, we did get a couple of fish, and it was the same, and we lost probably 3 or 4 fish. They were hitting very, very light again, so they weren't as active as earlier in the day yesterday. They were hitting real light, and after an hour we were out there, the winds picked up to at least 12 to 15 miles an hour, and it was gusting to 25. And we were getting whitecaps out there. And then I looked at the radar screen, and there was a big thunderstorm that looked like it was aiming right for us. So I didn't want to take a chance being that far out. So we around 9:30 in the morning, we headed back to the boat ramp. Got there about 10 o'clock in the morning, and we just missed the storm. And then it looked like the winds died down, but it didn't make much sense to get back out there, unfortunately, since we were planning on leaving in like another hour and a half or so. So that was our trip. But once again, it was a very rewarding, satisfying trip. Weren't catching the fish other than sheephead, and we just followed the guideline, and we controlled our depth and speed. And like Buck says in the book, if you haven't fished to a depth of 30 to 35 feet, you have not fished the area thoroughly. And that's where we found the fish, was 30 to 35 feet of water. So it was a great trip. We learned a lot on this trip, and it was even though we weren't killing the walleyes, but for the conditions, I think we did pretty good. So here's the footage of us fishing on the water. Thanks for watching. Structure Fishing, Jim Shaw here, and I am on Lake Erie. My first time ever fishing this body of water for walleyes. We're in the Sandusky area, I believe, and I am here with my fishing partner and pal, KC, aka Fishcraft, and we just launched the boat. It's the 4th of, well, if you want to say 4th of July weekend, it is actually July 3rd, Tuesday. We're planning on fishing here 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. First time, like I said, we've been here. We looked at our Navionics map. We've identified lots of reefs that are out here. You know, I'm sure these walleyes are going to be on these reefs here. Just a matter of finding them, getting the right presentation, the right depth of speed control. So we're going to head out there and let's do this.
Erie, day one, man. I missed the fish. We're hoping this is a big walleye. Do you need me to get...
our first trolling pass on this reef. We were only like 3-4 minutes on this reef.
Should I get the net ready?
What's that shit?
Bunch of shit. Alright guys, got our third fish of the day. We're hoping this is a walleye. My dad says...
It feels like it's a small walleye.
Yeah.
Small, you know, medium. They're supposed to have a good year class out here, a 16 to 20 inch fish.
We got some pretty bad wind today, but tomorrow it's only supposed to be 4 miles. Oh yeah, it's a walleye. Oh, it's a nice one. Alright guys, sorry about that. But put the camera down maybe to get the net, but we actually flipped him in. That's about a 20-incher, I'd say.
Oh yeah, man. Our first Lake Erie walleye.
Awesome.
We're doing a challenge out here. First one that gets 6 keeper walleyes wins. Bragging rights here. Yeah, man, what a nice, healthy looking fish, though. I'm pretty impressed with these Lake Erie walleyes.
Yep. Alright, we're gonna
I bet you he's about 19, 20.
Yeah, we're gonna put it in the live well, and let's get some more.
Alright, Casey got his first walleye on a harness rig.
Yep. Wow.
I was watching you. You saw him. He like tapped it a few times, and then you got him, hooked him.
Yeah. The hook's stuck, and it's got wrapped around his mouth, so.
Oh, okay. He looks like he's probably about a 16, 17 incher.
Yep.
All right, that's two walleyes in the box now.
Yep.
Let's
get some more.
Two. We got off to, I mean, it's calm, almost dead calm out here. and we're fishing this. We're actually, I don't know, probably a good 10 miles from the boat ramp because it's so calm out. But
Nice one.
Oh.
Nice. Oh, this is a drum.
Oh, it's a
or
drum.
a big walleye.
Anyway, Casey's just finding a fish here now. He just got a big drum here. Was really slow. We didn't get one walleye at all. We were catching occasional sheephead and one catfish. And I told Casey, you know, we see all these other boats fishing same areas we're fishing. No one's catching anything. I said the fish has got to be deeper. So I said, we got to fish deeper now. So we moved down to 30, 35 feet of water. And as soon as we got down to this spot here, we found a spot where it's almost like a contact point where it drops off into 40 feet of water. And we got four walleyes off this one spot here now. So I think we're just going to camp out here and hopefully stay till we get a limit of fish here. But the speed control is really slow. Like I said, with the conditions we have here, we knew that it was a slow speed and we weren't catching any walleyes, you know, in 15, 20, 25 feet of water. We got to go deeper. And as soon as we got to about 30, 35 feet of water, bam, we got 4 walleyes.
Straight. And I was like, what?
Oh,
Yep.
yep. Oh, yeah. It's a walleye. All right, I just hooked one. Let's see here. I think it's a walleye. Yeah. Oh! Oh! It took a run on me. All right. Yeah! Dude, we are on them.
Let's go, man.
That's a nice one. That's a nice one here. Awesome, man. We found the spot. We got the right depth and speed, and now we're catching fish. Doesn't get any better than this now. And we worked for these fish. This morning, after about a couple hours of fishing, we thought it was going to be really tough out here. And it is tough out here, but depth and speed, baby. That's got to be almost a 20, I think.
Yeah.
All right, here. I'll get that. Show the camera, maybe.
Look at that. Nice walleye there. Deep water.
Isn't this rewarding?
Yeah. If you're never catching anything, the best thing to do, go deeper.
Oh,
It's okay.
Then he started taking off, and I thought, oh, it's a sheephead because he was fighting pretty good. Dang it. That's fine now, right? Oh, Casey hooked up.
Oh, this is a walleye for sure.
All right.
The net.
Connect. This will be, we got 5 in the boat now. This will be number 6 if we get it.
Feels nice.
Yes, we are on them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a walleye ski.
Yeah. There. You fish. I got this. Alright. Boys and girls, we are on these fish good. Lake Erie, awesome fishery. We got tons of 16 to 20 inches.
If you can find them.
Yeah.
You got to find them. When they're inactive like this, you really got to home in on that depth and speed control. How did he hit you?
Oh, I just saw a few taps. Awesome eater walleye, Lake Erie. Awesome.
Oh, I just missed another one.
This one?
Dang it. They're hitting so light that maybe I will switch to the crawler.
I think it's because of the loading. I just think it looks natural.
But when they're the slightest bit active, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right, fish on. Fish on. Man, I love it. We are on them. Feels like an eater-sized walleye. I'm just going to flip them in. All right, man. Yep. Oh, yeah, it looks nice.
You mean that? Yes. You gotta be brave to flip that, buddy.
All right, dude. This is the 7th one now, right? This is. Oh, look at it, man. He just drilled him perfect. There you go. Thank you.
Another probably 17, 18-inch Lake Erie walleye.
Loving
Wow.
it.
Yesterday was definitely a battle, and we definitely did not win that battle. Today, almost no wind at all, which is unheard of on Lake Erie. You got a high pressure right above us, which is, if you know, not ideal for fishing. But these fish have gone deeper. They're off the shallow part of the reef.
We're fishing just east of Kelly Island, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Kelly Island shoal or reef, they call it out here.
Oh, we got one.
Suspended. Shoot that, I bet you, because the walleye was staying. It's a walleye.
It's a walleye?
Yep.
It's so weird.
So how far off the bottom were you think?
At least 10 feet.
Okay, maybe they're suspended too. All right, well, we'll stay a few more, right? We got to. Get them out of the net so I can get. All right, that's 9 now. Usually, see, those are county ones, state ones. Fish. Oh, yeah, he's suspended. Yeah. That's boring. That's how structured fishing does it. Number 10.
That was weird. Were you reeling in?
I was reeling it in slow. Just stop and go slow. Oh, he's a nice one too. All right, that's number 10. 2 more for our daily limit.
About a 18, 17 incher right there. Nice, fat, healthy fish. All right, guys, got our first
Here,
walleye.
I'll get the net.
Got my line tangled. There we go.
The net's stuck. There we go. All right, we're back for the late afternoon, evening bite, and we just decided just to throw the anchor down and not even mess around with working in with bottom bouncers to see if we're still on them. And it's a nice walleye. Casting 30 feet of water with a, is that a 3/8 ounce with a little grub tail? I can't get him off there.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, he's your typical Lake Erie walleye. He's probably, I'm guessing, 18, 17 maybe, but a good eater. All right, that's number 1 for the late afternoon evening. Let's get some more.